In a small, bustling high school located in the heart of an urban neighborhood, life moved at its own rhythm. The hallways buzzed with laughter, whispered secrets, and hurried footsteps as students rushed between classes. Among them was Maya Johnson, a 16-year-old girl whose quiet demeanor often made her blend into the background. But beneath her calm exterior lay a sharp mind, one that was curious, observant, and hungry for knowledge. Maya loved learning, especially when it came to solving problems. Numbers fascinated her, the way they fit together like pieces of a puzzle, creating patterns and solutions that seemed almost magical. Math wasn't just a subject for her, it was a language she understood deeply. Yet despite her passion, Maya rarely stood out in class. She preferred listening carefully and absorbing everything around her, rather than drawing attention to herself. For years, she had learned to navigate the challenges of being a black girl in a system that didn't always see her potential. Teachers sometimes overlooked her contributions, assuming she wouldn't excel or lead. Classmates occasionally teased her for being too serious about academics, but Maya didn't let any of it bother her too much. She knew who she was and what she was capable of. One crisp autumn morning, as sunlight streamed through the dusty classroom windows, Maya sat quietly at her desk during math class. Mr. Grayson, the teacher, stood at the front of the room, pacing back and forth like a drill sergeant. He was a tall man with graying hair and a perpetually stern expression. Known for his no-nonsense attitude, he prided himself on pushing students to their limits, or so he claimed. In reality, many students found him intimidating, if not outright mean. His teaching style leaned more toward criticism than encouragement, and his words often cut deeper than he realized. That day, Mr. Grayson decided to tackle a particularly tricky algebra problem on the board. After explaining the concept briefly and somewhat impatiently, he turned to the class and scanned the rows of desks. His gaze landed on Maya, who sat near the middle of the room, notebook open and pencil poised. Without hesitation, he pointed directly at her. "You," he said sharply, "come up here and solve this." The room fell silent. All eyes shifted to Maya, who froze for a moment. She hadn't volunteered to answer, nor had she raised her hand. Why had he picked her? Slowly, she stood up, clutching her pencil tightly in her hand. As she walked to the front of the class, she could feel the weight of everyone's stares pressing down on her. Her heart began to race, but she reminded herself to stay calm. She glanced at the equation on the board. It wasn't impossible, but it would take some thought. For a few seconds, Maya hesitated. It wasn't because she didn't know how to solve it. On the contrary, she already had an idea forming in her mind. But something inside her resisted stepping fully into the spotlight. She hated feeling singled out, especially in such a public way. Before she could gather her thoughts enough to begin writing, Mr. Grayson sighed loudly, shaking his head. "I should have known better," he muttered under his breath, but loud enough for the entire class to hear. Then, turning to face the students, he added, "Don't worry, I didn't think you'd get it anyway. You're just not smart enough." You see, words hit Maya like a punch to the gut. Her cheeks flushed red and her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the chalk. A wave of embarrassment washed over her, followed quickly by anger. How dare he dismiss her like that? How dare he assume she couldn't handle the problem simply because of who she was? The other students exchanged uncomfortable glances, unsure whether to laugh, whisper, or stay silent. Some looked sympathetic while others smirked, clearly enjoying the drama unfolding before them. But even in that moment of humiliation, something inside Maya refused to break. Instead of crumbling, she felt a spark ignite within her, a fierce determination to prove him wrong. Quietly, she finished working through the problem on the board, step by step until she arrived at the correct solution. When she turned around to show her work, Mr. Grayson barely glanced at it. He simply waved her back to her seat, muttering something about moving on to the next topic. As Maya returned to her desk, her mind raced. She replayed his words over and over again in her head, each repetition stoking the fire of indignation growing inside her. Who was he to decide what she was capable of? Did he truly believe his own assessment, or was he just trying to assert control over the class? Whatever the reason, Maya resolved then and there that she wouldn't let his negativity define her. If anything, his harsh judgment only strengthened her resolve to succeed. The rest of the class passed in a blur. Maya barely heard Mr. Grayson's voice droning on about formulas and variables. Her focus was elsewhere, on the challenge ahead, on proving to herself and everyone else that she was far smarter than anyone gave her credit for. By the time the bell rang, signaling the end of the period, Maya had already begun formulating a plan. This wasn't going to be the end of the story. It was going to be the beginning of something much bigger. Little did Mr. Grayson know, he had underestimated the wrong student, and soon he would learn exactly what that meant. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Maya trudged home with her backpack slung over one shoulder. Her mind was still reeling from the events of the day. Mr. Grayson's words echoed in her head like a broken record. "You're just not smart enough." Each time they replayed, they stung a little less, but fueled her determination even more. By the time she reached her front door, she had made up her mind. She wasn't going to let him win. Inside the cozy apartment she shared with her mom, the smell of garlic and onions frying on the stove greeted her. Her mother, Ms. Johnson, stood at the counter chopping vegetables for dinner. A former teacher herself, Ms. Johnson had always been Maya's biggest supporter. She believed wholeheartedly in the power of education and encouraged Maya to dream big, no matter how tough things got. Sensing something was off, she glanced up from her cooking and studied her daughter's face. "You okay, baby?" Ms. Johnson asked gently, setting down the knife. "You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders." Maya hesitated for a moment, debating whether to tell her mom what had happened. She didn't want to burden her or seem like she was complaining, but the words spilled out before she could stop them. Sitting down at the kitchen table, she recounted the entire incident, the algebra problem, Mr. Grayson's cutting remark, and the awkward silence that followed. As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away quickly. Crying wouldn't solve anything. Action would. Ms. Johnson listened patiently, her expression shifting from concern to quiet anger. When Maya finished, her mom placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I'm so sorry he said that to you," she began, softly. "But listen to me. You are smart. Smarter than most people give you credit for. And if Mr. Grayson can't see that, then it's his loss, not yours." Her words were soothing, but Maya needed more than reassurance. She wanted to prove Mr. Grayson wrong, not just to him, but to everyone who doubted her. "What should I do, Mom?" she asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "How do I show him he's wrong?" Ms. Johnson thought for a moment before replying. "Channel that hurt into something positive," she advised. "Work harder than ever before. Show him and yourself that you're capable of greatness. And remember, this isn't about revenge. It's about proving to yourself what you're truly worth." Inspired by her mom's advice, Maya spent the rest of the night buried in her textbooks. She tackled every practice problem she could find, pushing herself until her brain felt like it might explode. At first, fatigue threatened to slow her down, but she refused to give in. Every equation she solved felt like a small victory, a step closer to silencing Mr. Grayson's voice in her head. By the time she finally crawled into bed, it was well past midnight, but she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The next day at school, Maya walked into math class with her head held high. Gone was the quiet girl who shied away from attention. Her place was someone determined to shine. When Mr. Grayson called on students to answer questions, Maya raised her hand confidently, surprising both him and her classmates. Each time she provided the correct answer, she could feel a flicker of satisfaction deep inside. It wasn't just about showing off. It was about reclaiming her dignity. At first, Mr. Grayson seemed taken aback by her sudden change in behavior. He frowned slightly whenever she spoke, as though unsure how to handle her newfound assertiveness. But instead of acknowledging her improvement, he doubled down on his dismissive attitude. One afternoon, after Maya flawlessly explained a complicated theorem, he muttered, "Must be beginner's luck," loud enough for the entire class to hear. The comment drew a few snickers from some students, but Maya didn't flinch. She simply smiled politely and returned to her seat, knowing full well that his skepticism only proved her point. Word of Maya's transformation began to spread beyond the classroom. Her friends noticed the difference immediately. "What's gotten into you?" Her best friend Tasha joked during lunch one day. "You're like a math wizard now." Maya laughed lightly, brushing off the compliment. "Just trying to keep up," she replied modestly. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. This wasn't just about keeping up. It was about excelling, about rising above the doubts others had placed on her. As weeks turned into months, Maya continued to thrive. She started helping her classmates understand difficult concepts, explaining things in ways that even Mr. Grayson couldn't. Some students began approaching her during study hall or after school for extra guidance. What surprised Maya most was how rewarding it felt to lift others up. Seeing the light bulb moments in their eyes reminded her why she loved math in the first place. It wasn't just about numbers. It was about connection and growth. Despite her growing confidence, Maya couldn't ignore the tension brewing between her and Mr. Grayson. His condescending remarks became more frequent, almost as if he was deliberately trying to provoke her. Once, when she corrected him on a minor error in a formula, he shot back, "Are you sure about that? Maybe you're getting ahead of yourself." The jab stung, but Maya refused to let it derail her progress. Instead, she used it as fuel to work even harder. By the end of the semester, Maya had become a force to be reckoned with in math class. Her grades soared, and her peers looked up to her as a leader. Even some of the teachers who had previously overlooked her started taking notice. Yet despite all her achievements, Mr. Grayson remained stubbornly resistant. He never outright praised her, choosing instead to attribute her success to external factors like tutoring or group projects. But Maya wasn't doing this for his approval. She was doing it for herself, for the little girl inside her who deserved to be seen and heard. With each passing day, she grew stronger, smarter, and more resilient. And while Mr. Grayson may not have realized it yet, he had unknowingly ignited a fire within her, a fire that would soon burn brighter than either of them could have imagined. The stage was set. The pieces were falling into place. All Maya needed now was the perfect opportunity to show the world and Mr. Grayson exactly what she was made of. The announcement came on a chilly Monday morning, posted on the bulletin board outside the cafeteria. In bold letters it read, "Annual Regional Math Olympiad Competition. Sign up now." Students crowded around the poster, buzzing with excitement. The competition was one of the most prestigious events in the district, where top math students from various schools competed to showcase their skills. For many, it was a chance to earn scholarships, recognition, and bragging rights. But for Maya, it felt like something more, a chance to silence every doubter, including Mr. Grayson. Maya stood at the edge of the crowd, staring at the poster as if it held all the answers she'd been searching for. Her heart raced, not out of fear, but out of anticipation. This was her moment. She could feel it deep in her bones. Without hesitation, she grabbed a pen from her backpack and signed her name on the sign-up sheet. As she walked away, she noticed a few classmates whispering behind her back. Some looked impressed, while others smirked, clearly thinking she didn't stand a chance. Maya ignored them. She had learned long ago that people's opinions didn't define her. When news of Maya's decision reached Mr. Grayson, he wasn't shy about sharing his thoughts. During class later that week, he glanced at her briefly before saying, "I see someone signed up for the Olympiad. Let's hope you don't embarrass yourself, or the school." His tone dripped with sarcasm, and a few students snickered nervously, but Maya didn't flinch. Instead, she met his gaze coolly, her expression unreadable. Inside, though, she burned with determination. If anything, his words only strengthened her resolve. Preparation became Maya's entire world. Every spare moment was dedicated to studying, practicing, and perfecting her craft. She scoured textbooks, online resources, and past Olympiad problems, determined to leave no stone unturned. Late nights turned into early mornings, and coffee became her new best friend. Her bedroom walls were soon covered in sticky notes filled with formulas, strategies, and motivational quotes. One note, written in bold letters, caught her eye every time she sat down to study. Prove them wrong. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Tasha, her best friend, often dropped by after school to check on her. "You're going to burn yourself." "Out," Tasha warned one afternoon, watching Maya scribble furiously in her notebook. "Take a break, okay? You've got this." "I know I do," Maya replied confidently, though her eyes betrayed a hint of exhaustion. "But I can't afford to slack off." "Not now." Tasha smiled, shaking her head. "Well, if anyone can pull this off, it's you. Just don't forget to breathe." Maya appreciated the support, especially since not everyone believed in her. At school, some teachers whispered among themselves, questioning whether she was truly ready for such a challenge. Even Ms. Patel, the kind-hearted science teacher who had always encouraged Maya, expressed mild concern. "Are you sure you're not setting your expectations too high?" she asked gently during lunch one day. "The competition will be tough." Maya nodded, understanding the sentiment. "It's going to be hard," she admitted. "But I didn't sign up because it's easy. I signed up because it's worth it." Ms. Patel smiled warmly. "Then I have no doubt you'll shine." Despite the naysayers, Maya found unexpected allies along the way. One afternoon, a substitute teacher named Mr. Carter stopped by the library, where Maya was poring over a particularly tricky geometry problem. He introduced himself and struck up a conversation, quickly realizing how talented she was. From then on, he became an unofficial mentor, offering guidance and encouragement whenever he was at the school. "You remind me of myself when I was your age," he told her once. "Never stop chasing what sets your soul on fire." With each passing day, Maya grew more confident in her abilities. She began participating in mock competitions organized by the math club, where she faced off against other top students. Though some rounds were challenging, she never backed down. Each victory, no matter how small, reinforced her belief that she belonged on that stage. Meanwhile, tensions between Maya and Mr. Grayson continued to simmer. He seemed increasingly irritated by her success, making snide comments whenever possible. Once, after she aced a particularly difficult quiz, he remarked, "Guess even broken clocks are right twice a day." The jab drew laughter from a few students, but Maya simply smiled sweetly and said, "Thanks for the compliment, Mr. Grayson." His face reddened slightly, and for the first time, she saw a crack in his armor. As the regional finals approached, excitement and nerves began to build. Maya's name appeared on posters around the school, listing her as one of the competitors representing their institution. Some students cheered for her, while others remained skeptical. Rumors swirled about whether she'd make it past the preliminary rounds, but Maya tuned it all out. She focused solely on the task ahead, visualizing herself standing on that stage, solving problems with ease. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The event was held in a grand auditorium filled with rows of eager participants and proud parents. Spotlights illuminated the stage, where massive screens displayed questions for the audience to follow along. Maya took her seat among the contestants, her stomach fluttering with nerves. She glanced around at the other competitors. Some looked calm and collected, while others fidgeted anxiously. Many came from elite private schools, wearing uniforms that screamed privilege. Maya, dressed in her simple sweater and jeans, felt a pang of self-doubt creep in. But then she remembered why she was here, to prove that talent and hard work transcended background and circumstance. The competition kicked off with a series of warm-up rounds designed to weed out weaker contenders. Maya breezed through them, answering questions with precision and speed. By the second round, half the participants had been eliminated, leaving only the strongest contenders. Maya found herself neck and neck with another student, a boy from a rival school who exuded confidence. Their rivalry added an extra layer of intensity to the competition, with both exchanging quick glances whenever points were awarded. By the final round, only 3 competitors remained, including Maya. The questions grew progressively harder, testing not just mathematical knowledge but also creativity and critical thinking. Sweat trickled down Maya's forehead as she tackled each problem, her mind racing against the clock. When the last question appeared, a complex puzzle involving algebra, geometry, and logic, she closed her eyes for a brief moment, taking a deep breath. Then, channeling every ounce of focus and determination she possessed, she attacked the problem with everything she had. Seconds ticked away as Maya worked through the solution step by step. Her hands trembled slightly as she wrote, but her calculations were steady and accurate. With mere moments to spare, she jotted down her final answer and hit the buzzer signaling completion. The room fell silent as the judges reviewed the responses. Maya's heart pounded so loudly she feared everyone could hear it, and then the announcer's voice boomed through the auditorium. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have our winner, Maya Johnson." For a split second, Maya thought she'd misheard, but as applause erupted around her, reality sank in. She had done it. Against all odds, she had won. Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped onto the stage to accept her trophy, her legs trembling beneath her. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment forever. Back home, her mother watched live via a school livestream, tears streaming down her face as pride swelled in her chest. In that moment, Maya realized something profound. This victory wasn't just hers. It belonged to everyone who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told they weren't good enough. And as she gazed out at the cheering crowd, she knew this was only the beginning. The auditorium erupted in applause as Maya stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding like a drum. The bright lights above cast a warm glow over the crowd, and for a moment, she felt like she was floating. Her name echoed through the hall as the announcer repeated it with pride. "Maya Johnson, first-place winner of this year's Regional Math Olympiad." She held the trophy tightly in her hands, its weight both literal and symbolic, a testament to months of hard work, resilience, and unwavering determination. As Maya stood there, basking in the cheers of strangers and friends alike, she couldn't help but think about how far she'd come. Just weeks ago, she had been sitting in Mr. Grayson's classroom, feeling small and unseen. Now, she was standing on a stage, proving, to herself and the world, that she was capable of greatness. For the first time in what felt like forever, she allowed herself to feel truly proud, not just of winning, but of refusing to let anyone dim her light. Back at school the following Monday, news of Maya's victory spread like wildfire. Students who had barely noticed her before suddenly stopped her in the hallways to congratulate her. "Wow, Maya, I had no idea you were so good at math," one classmate exclaimed wide-eyed. Others gave her high fives or whispered admiringly about her achievement. Even teachers who had previously overlooked her now greeted her with smiles and nods of approval. It was as if an invisible barrier had been lifted, allowing people to see her for who she really was. But not everyone reacted with enthusiasm. Mr. Grayson, in particular, seemed uncomfortable with the newfound attention Maya was receiving. During class, he avoided looking directly at her, keeping his gaze fixed firmly on the board or his papers. When students brought up her win, "Did you hear? Maya won the Math Olympiad," he simply grunted noncommittally, brushing off their excitement. His behavior only confirmed what Maya already knew. He hadn't expected her to succeed, let alone dominate the competition. But instead of gloating or rubbing it in his face, Maya chose to rise above. She wasn't interested in revenge. She wanted respect. Over the next few days, local newspapers began covering Maya's story. Reporters interviewed her about her journey, asking questions like, "What inspired you to compete?" and "How does it feel to represent your school on such a big stage?" Maya answered honestly, sharing how she had turned doubt into fuel and used her passion for math to push past obstacles. Word of her success reached universities, and soon letters started arriving in the mail, scholarship offers, invitations to summer programs, and even early admission opportunities. It was overwhelming, but in the best possible way. Her mother, Ms. Johnson, watched all of this unfold with tears in her eyes. She had always believed in Maya's potential, but seeing her daughter achieve something so monumental filled her with indescribable joy. One evening, as they sat together on the couch flipping through congratulatory cards, Ms. Johnson pulled Maya into a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you, baby," she said softly. "You've shown everyone, including yourself, what you're made of." Maya smiled, leaning into the embrace. "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." While the accolades kept pouring in, Maya remained grounded. She understood that this victory wasn't just about personal glory, it was about inspiring others. She started receiving messages from younger students in her community, many of whom looked up to her as a role model. "You're proof that we can do anything we set our minds to," one girl wrote in an email. Another student thanked her for showing that being underestimated didn't mean giving up. It meant working harder. Inspired by these words, Maya decided to take action. With encouragement from Ms. Patel and Mr. Carter, she began volunteering at after-school tutoring sessions, helping struggling students improve their math skills. At first, she worried that she might not be patient enough or that she wouldn't know how to explain concepts clearly. But to her surprise, she found teaching incredibly rewarding. Watching her peers' faces light up when they finally understood, a tricky problem reminded her why she loved math in the first place. It wasn't just about numbers. It was about connection and growth. One afternoon, as Maya worked with a group of 8th graders, Tasha popped her head into the classroom. "Still here, huh?" she teased, leaning against the doorway. "You're officially becoming a legend around here," Maya laughed, shaking her head. "I just want to pay it forward, you know? Someone helped me when I needed it, so now it's my turn." Tasha grinned. "Well, keep doing what you're doing. You're changing lives, Maya. Don't underestimate that." Meanwhile, tensions between Maya and Mr. Grayson continued to simmer beneath the surface. Though he never openly acknowledged her accomplishments, his attitude toward her shifted slightly. Gone were the biting remarks and sarcastic jabs. Instead, he adopted a more neutral stance, treating her like any other student. While it wasn't exactly an apology, Maya recognized it as progress. She didn't need him to validate her success. His earlier dismissal had already taught her that external validation wasn't what mattered most. Still, one day after class, Mr. Grayson approached her desk hesitantly. The room was empty except for the two of them, and for a moment, neither spoke. Finally, clearing his throat, Mr. Grayson muttered, "Congratulations on your win." His voice lacked warmth, but it carried a hint of sincerity. Maya looked up, meeting his gaze steadily. "Thank you," she replied politely, her tone measured. There was no bitterness in her words, only calm confidence. After a brief pause, she added, "For the record, I forgive you, but remember this: never underestimate someone again. You might be dealing with the next Einstein." Mr. Grayson blinked, taken aback by her poise and maturity. For once, he seemed genuinely speechless. Without waiting for a response, Maya gathered her things and walked out of the classroom, leaving him to reflect on her words. As weeks turned into months, Maya's life settled into a new rhythm. She balanced her studies, tutoring sessions, and scholarship applications with grace and determination. Winning the Math Olympiad had opened doors she never imagined possible, but more importantly, it had given her a sense of purpose. She realized that her journey wasn't just about proving herself. It was about lifting others up and breaking down barriers for those who came after her. Looking back, Maya knew that none of this would have happened without the challenges she faced along the way. Mr. Grayson's harsh words had hurt deeply, but they had also ignited a fire within her, a fire that refused to be extinguished. Instead of letting negativity define her, she had transformed it into motivation, using it to propel herself forward. And while she still had dreams to chase and goals to achieve, she knew one thing for certain: she was unstoppable. Her story became a beacon of hope for countless young people in her community. Parents told their children about the girl who proved her teacher wrong. Teachers encouraged their students to channel adversity into ambition, just like Maya had done. And Maya herself? She carried the lessons she'd learned with her everywhere she went, knowing that every challenge was an opportunity in disguise. By the time graduation rolled around, Maya had earned not only academic honors, but also the respect and admiration of her peers and teachers. As she stood on stage delivering her valedictorian speech, she reflected on the journey that had brought her there. "Life will throw obstacles your way," she said, her voice steady and strong. "People may doubt you, criticize you, or try to hold you back. But don't let them define you. Believe in yourself, work hard, and never stop reaching for the stars, because trust me, you are capable of amazing things." The audience erupted in applause once again, and as Maya stepped off the stage, diploma in hand, she felt a profound sense of peace. She had proven herself, not just to Mr. Grayson or the world, but to herself. And that was the greatest victory of all. Years passed, and Maya's life took on a rhythm that was both fulfilling and inspiring. After graduating at the top of her class, she accepted a full-ride scholarship to one of the most prestigious universities in the country. Her journey there wasn't without its challenges, adjusting to college-level coursework, navigating a new environment, and balancing academics with personal growth, but Maya approached every obstacle with the same resilience that had carried her through high school. She knew how to persevere because she had already faced some of life's toughest lessons. During her freshman year, Maya joined several student organizations focused on education and mentorship. One group, called Math Mentors, paired university students with local middle and high schoolers who needed extra support in STEM subjects. For Maya, this was more than just volunteering. It was an opportunity to give back to the community that had shaped her. Every Saturday morning, she traveled to nearby schools, armed with textbooks, whiteboards, and endless patience. She worked closely with students who reminded her of herself. Quiet but curious, eager to learn but unsure of their potential. One particular student stood out to her, a shy 7th-grade boy named Jamal. Like Maya, he loved math but often doubted his abilities. His teachers described him as bright but unmotivated, a label that frustrated Maya deeply. She saw something special in Jamal, a spark waiting to be ignited. Over weeks of tutoring sessions, she encouraged him to trust himself and embrace his love for problem-solving. By the end of the semester, Jamal had gone from barely passing his math exams to earning top marks in his class. When he proudly showed her his report card, tears welled up in Maya's eyes. In that moment, she realized the ripple effect of her actions, how helping one person could inspire countless others. As her college years unfolded, Maya continued to excel academically while pursuing her passion for teaching and advocacy. She double-majored in mathematics and education, determined to combine her love for numbers with her desire to uplift underserved communities. Her professors admired her dedication, often remarking on her ability to simplify complex concepts and connect with people on a deeper level. "You have a gift," one professor told her during office hours. "Not everyone can make math feel accessible and exciting." By the time she graduated from university, Maya had earned not only a degree but also a reputation as a changemaker. She gave speeches at conferences, wrote articles about equity and education, and even started a nonprofit organization aimed at providing resources for underprivileged students. The organization, which she named Rising Stars, offered free tutoring workshops and mentorship programs to young people across the city. Its mission was simple yet powerful: to empower the next generation of leaders by showing them that they were capable of greatness, no matter their circumstances. Despite her growing success, Maya never forgot where she came from. She returned frequently to her old neighborhood, visiting her former teachers and catching up with friends. On one such visit, she stopped by her old high school to deliver a motivational speech to the current students. Standing in front of the same auditorium where she had once felt invisible, Maya reflected on how much had changed since those days. "When I was sitting where you are now," she began, "I didn't think anyone believed in me, but I learned that belief starts with yourself. If you know your worth, no one can take it away from you." Her words resonated deeply with the audience, many of whom approached her afterward to thank her for sharing her story. Some admitted they were struggling with self-doubt or feeling overlooked by teachers and peers. Maya listened patiently, offering advice and encouragement. "Don't let anyone tell you what you can or can't do," she told them. Your dreams are valid and your voice matters. Keep pushing forward, even when it feels impossible. Among the crowd was Mr. Grayson. Now nearing retirement, he had heard about Maya's accomplishments and decided to attend her talk out of curiosity, or perhaps guilt. As the other students filed out of the auditorium, he lingered near the back, watching as Maya packed up her notes. When the room was nearly empty, he approached her hesitantly. "Maya," he said, his voice quieter than she remembered. "I wanted to say thank you for coming today. Your message meant a lot to the kids, and to me." Maya turned to face him, surprised but composed. "Thank you for listening," she replied evenly. There was no trace of bitterness in her tone, only calm assurance. After a pause, she added, "I hope you'll keep believing in your students. You never know which ones might surprise you." Mr. Grayson nodded slowly, visibly moved. "I've thought about what you said that day. The Einstein comment, it stuck with me. I guess I needed to hear it." With that, he extended his hand and Maya shook it firmly, closing a chapter of her past with grace and dignity. In the years that followed, Maya's influence continued to grow. She became a sought-after speaker and educator, traveling to schools and conferences around the world to share her story. Her nonprofit expanded, reaching thousands of students and inspiring countless educators to rethink their approaches to teaching. Through it all, she remained grounded, always remembering the struggles that had shaped her. One evening, as she sat on her apartment balcony overlooking the city skyline, Maya reflected on her journey. She thought about the moments that had defined her, the sting of Mr. Grayson's words, the late nights spent studying, the thrill of winning the math Olympiad, and the joy of seeing her mentees succeed. Each experience had taught her something valuable, that adversity could be transformed into strength, that doubt could fuel determination, and that kindness and empathy could create lasting change. Her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a text from Jamal, now a high school senior, informing her that he had been accepted into a top engineering program. Attached was a photo of him holding his acceptance letter, grinning ear to ear. Maya smiled, feeling a surge of pride. This was why she did what she did, to help others realize their potential and chase their dreams. As she set her phone down, Maya gazed out at the horizon, where the sun was setting in a blaze of gold and crimson. She thought about the future, not just her own, but the futures of all the young people she had touched along the way. They were the true rising stars, and she was honored to play a part in their journeys. Life had come full circle for Maya, from being underestimated and dismissed to becoming a beacon of hope and inspiration. She had proven that resilience, hard work, and self-belief could overcome any obstacle. And though she still faced challenges, she welcomed them with open arms, knowing that each one would only make her stronger. In the end, Maya's story wasn't just about math or competitions, or proving someone wrong. It was about finding purpose, breaking barriers, and lighting the path for others to follow. She had started as a quiet girl with a dream, and now she was a leader, a mentor, and a force for good. And as long as there were young minds eager to learn and hearts ready to believe, Maya knew her work was far from over.